Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's early predictions for Season 4 of The Expanse. In this video, I'll give some early predictions on what I think will happen in Season 4 of The Expanse. However, unfortunately, when thinking of what predictions I could make, I realized there's no possible way for me to get into what I think will happen in Season 4 without giving away book spoilers. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to start with a spoiler warning for the Expanse novels, particularly Book 4, Sleep Burn, and I will also touch a bit on Nemesis Games and Babylon's Ashes. So if you haven't read these books, you should not watch this video, or I will spoil what is likely to happen in the coming seasons of the TV show The Expanse. So, as you probably know, if you're watching this video, The Expanse was canceled by the Sci-Fi Channel after production of Season 3 was completed, but while it was airing. But The Expanse was saved and picked up by Amazon Prime for a fourth season, with Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos hinting at the possibility for more seasons to come. But as of now, the only season that has been confirmed is Season 4, which the writers have already started working on. However, it has been stated that The Expanse is under the same production company and the same creative minds working on it behind the scenes, so there's no reason to infer that the switch to Amazon will bring about a massive change in tone or anything like that. So, at the end of Season 3, they left on a mighty big cliffhanger with the discovery of the ring gates and a montage that seemed to span a wide time frame, with Holden explaining that there will be a bloody gold rush as humanity reaches out to explore the 1,300 new worlds, new solar systems now available to them via the ring gate. We see Avasarala overseeing this expansion, and we see Holden set off on the Rocinante with Bobby Draper as a new crew member sitting beside Alex in the co-pilot's chair. And the investigator, or Miller projection, or however you choose to call him, is telling Holden that he needs a ride. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the video, I will be getting into book spoilers, so if you're still watching this, I assume that you have already read the novel Sleep Burn, so you know that it focuses entirely on the planet beyond the Ring Gate, which is the first to be colonized by the human race that Earthers refer to as New Terror, but the Belters refer to as Illis. There's a dispute between the Belters, who originally colonized the planet, and the Earth Corporation, who took legal control of the planet, and they refer to the Belters as squatters, whilst the original Belters see the UN colonizing force as invaders stealing what's rightfully theirs. So Holden is sent to negotiate between the two sides, having ties with both Earth and the Belt. He's viewed as a neutral party. However, while there, the investigator has an ulterior motive, which involves discovering what happened to the race that created him and the protomolecule, and who wiped that race out. So I do expect Season 4 to likewise center on this storyline. Now, each book in the Expanse series focused on a different viewpoint characters. Book 1 focused on Miller and Holden. Book 2 on Holden, Avasarala, Prax, and Bobby Draper. Book 3 on Holden, Pastor Anna, Melba Coe, a.k.a. Clarissa Mal, and Bull. Book 4, Sleep Burn, focused on the viewpoint characters of Holden, Bessia Merton, Elvie, and Havelock. Now, show watchers will recognize Havelock, who appeared in the first 5 episodes of Season 1 of The Expanse as Miller's partner, but what many may not realize is that Bessia Merton has also already appeared in the TV show, as he had a brief appearance in Season 2 as the scared father of Kotoa on Ganymede Station that he told Prax and Amos about the Belter who finds people in exchange for cans of chicken. Elvie is a new character, however, who has yet to appear in the show. Now, the show has always switched up the focus from the novels of the viewpoint characters. For example, on the material that covered Book 1, they added Avasarala into the mix as having her own storyline, despite the fact that in the novel she didn't appear until Book 2, and they pretty much kept the main focus of the 4 viewpoint characters of Book 2 for the material they covered of Book 2. Only difference is they introduced Bobby Draper a little bit earlier in order to coincide with the start of Season 2. However, with the Book 3 material, they again introduced the viewpoint character of Anna a bit earlier to coincide with the start of Season 3. In addition, they eliminated one viewpoint character, Bull, from the show entirely, and instead gave his storyline to already established characters of Drummer and Naomi. So with that in mind, it's entirely possible that the same will be done with the viewpoint characters of Book 4. In the novels, we get a lot of story involving Bazia, Elvie, and Havelock around Illis before Holden even arrives there. I don't expect the same thing to happen in the show. For one, the novels begin with the Rocinante in the Sol system, and they receive their orders to travel to Illis for this mission. I don't expect this to happen in the show, as we saw the Rocinante traveling through the Ring Gate at the end of Season 3. I don't think they will show them back in the Sol system and have them travel through the Ring Gate again at the start of Season 4. So instead, I think we will see them talking about their mission while they're already on the other side of the Ring Gate on the route to Illis, and that's where we'll begin with them. As the show typically seems to cut out a lot of the preamble that exists in the novels and get right to the point. And while we might get some scenes of Illis before the Rocinante gets there in order to establish the situation there, such as the radicals there destroying the landing site, and which causes the UN ship to crash, however, I don't think we will spend as much time there before the Rocinante arrives as we did in the novels. But that being said, I think in the show, like in the books, there will be a time jump of several years at the start of Season 4, as there actually needs to be a time jump in order to already have an established colony on Illis before Holden gets there, so several years had to have already passed between the start of Season 4 and the end of Season 3. That being said, the final scene of Season 3 that showed Holden passing through the Ring Gate could have been after this time jump, but perhaps not. Perhaps Season 4 will begin with the Rocinante already had returned from their journey through the Ring Gate, and several years would have passed, and perhaps Bobby Draper isn't even a member of the crew anymore, but I'd bet against that. As for the viewpoint characters, well, let's start with Havelock. I am predicting he will return to the show because he was already quite a main character in the first half of Season 1 who seemed to just disappear abruptly. Even before I read the books, I was thinking they really need to show this character again because it seemed like he just disappeared from the show very quickly and we need follow-up on that. And he was also played by a somewhat established actor who appeared in such films like Hostile and Suicide Squad. So I suppose there's a risk they couldn't get the same actor, but I'm betting that they will, which I think will be important for the Illis storyline, having a character there that the audience is already familiar with, being on the bad guy side, who will eventually turn to Holden's side. But again, I don't think we will spend as much time with him as we did in the books. As for Elvie, despite not having appeared in the show yet, I do think they will introduce this character in Season 4, as she would be quite an important character to leave out, particularly with her interactions with Holden, as she has unrequited feelings towards him, and creating a nice little love triangle with her, Holden, and Naomi seems like a real juicy thing that the show would love to do. Now, I did consider the possibility that perhaps they would replace Elvie with Anna, since she's already an established character, but I think you need a scientist in this role, not a priest. Plus, it would negate the whole love triangle storyline, which I don't think the show is going to drop. So if any new characters get introduced in Season 4, I'd bet real money it will be Elvie. Another character I would bet on getting introduced in Season 4 would be Adolphus Mertry, who served as Cibolo Burn's main antagonist, as I think the story definitely needs him, and he was such a despicable character. His arc would add a lot to the story, and if they're doing the storyline on Ilus at all, which is evident that they are because the setup for the protomolecule side of it at the end of Season 3 was very obvious, then they need to have Mertry, who is the driving force of that storyline. But getting to the last viewpoint character, and that is Basia, if there's one viewpoint character I think they're going to cut out, it would be this one. True, he has already appeared in the show, and his son Kotor played an even bigger role in the show than he did in the books. However, I can't imagine them getting the same actor who only appeared in that brief scene in Season 2. And this character was a lot more sniveling and cowardly than his book counterpart. Now, it's true they could pull a Beric Dondarrion and simply recast the actor who played this character, but I doubt it. In fact, I'd bet on them simply eliminating this character altogether so they can truncate this story and focus more on Holden and the protomolecule. They may create a token Belter on Ilus to represent them, but I think they'll just create a new character for this, may not even play as big of a role. One direction that the show could go in, which would be drastically different from the novels, but would allow them to reuse characters that the show watchers are already familiar with, is to have Prax take over Basia's role as the representative of the Ilus colony. And he could have settled on Ilus with May, and this would be a great way to bring him back into the storyline, and thus would add to the dynamic of having someone on Ilus Holden and Amos already trust. I'm not sure I think that's the way they will go, but I think that's definitely a possibility. In fact, if we were to get Prax in the show at all in the future, this would be my bet on how the show would reuse him. Obviously, his storyline wouldn't be the same as Basia's, as he wouldn't have a son who wants to be a part of the terrorist group, and he wouldn't have helped the terrorists blow up the landing pad. But perhaps May could be the one of the people on the ship that's hurling towards Ilus, and that be the Rosnate crew motivation in order to fight to save that ship, which would be a nice dynamic and good use of familiar characters, but we'll see. As for the Rosnate crew, in the novels, Amos and Holden went down to the planet while Alex and Naomi stayed on the ship. Neither Alex nor Naomi were viewpoint characters, so we didn't get much of them until their storyline intersected with Havelock's, and we saw through his eyes as they dealt with the crisis of the force of the planet slowly drawing all those ships in out of orbit to be destroyed. Now, in the show, Bobby Draper is on the crew now, and we know the show likes to give supporting characters like Naomi and Alex more attention than the novels did, so I'm not sure how they will split this up in the show. I think it's possible they may even send Naomi to the planet with Holden so they can do a more overt love triangle, as she'll be down there with them, and then Bobby Draper could take over her storyline in orbit with trying to sabotage the other ship and getting captured. Or they could keep things the same and Naomi be the one who gets captured, and Bobby will have to be the one to try to rescue her. So I'm not really sure how they would play this out. But I'd bet that they keep the basic story the same, with part of the crew in orbit dealing with the crisis, and and part of the crew, which most certainly will include Holden, on the planet dealing with the crisis down there. And the reason I say Holden must be on the planet is he needs to be there so Miller can fulfill his storyline of finding the ancient alien artifacts and shutting down whatever was activated there, which I actually think will be the main drive of the story. Now, there has been a lot of concern that the show's budget won't be big enough for all the location shoots the Ilus storyline would require, and I'm not sure if Amazon Prime will be giving them a bigger budget than the Sci-Fi Channel did, but either way, I think there are ways they can fake this and ways to do location shoots that aren't too expensive. But either way, I don't think it's going to be as grandiose as it was in the books. They may, for example, forego the whole thing with the floods and the giant underground train system, or they could just find cheaper ways to do it. Either way, I'm not too concerned about this. I'll trust they'll figure out how to do this. In fact, I've heard the showrunners say that they're already scouting locations where they can shoot Illis. Now, the thing with Sibyl Byrne is that the entire book takes place on or around Illis, which is more isolating than The Expanse tends to be. Although the same thing could be said about Book 3, Abaddon's Gate. And I remember before Season 3 came out, I made the prediction that Season 3 would open up more storylines outside of the ring so we could see what, like, Avasarala's up to, for example. And it turns out that the show did not do that and instead focused that part of the season entirely on what was going on inside the ring, just like the book did. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that that was probably what was required of that story, because the whole point of the ring story was that the isolation everyone felt inside the ring and that no one outside knew what was going on. Plus, I do think they really wanted to get to the end of Book 3 by the end of Season 3 so they could start Season 4 with Book 4. However, with Season 4, I do think they will show storylines outside of what is going on Illis that won't be really relevant to what's going on in Illis. In fact, the showrunner has stated that they are not going to abandon the other side of the ring in Season 4, and that we will see what Earth, Mars, and the Belt are up to. So I think they will in fact incorporate some storylines from Book 5, Nemesis Game, or at least start to set up for that. Now, this was also my prediction before Season 3 started, that Season 4 would do Sibyl Byrne and Nemesis Game simultaneously. However, my original prediction is that Naomi would stay behind in the Soul System and start her storyline with Marco. But seeing that she reconciled with Holden and rejoined the Rocinante crew at the end of Season 3, I no longer think that's the case, as it's clear that she's going to Illis with Holden. So instead, what I think they'll do is have a storyline of political intrigue setting up for the Marco storyline and perhaps introducing him, perhaps not. And this will take place on Medina Station. Now, I've already heard some talk that Drummer and Ashford will appear on Medina Station in Season 4, so my prediction is Avasarala will go there as well, and we'll get a storyline similar to the Nemesis Game storyline where the rogue OPA elements tried to kill Fred Johnson, but instead of it being Fred Johnson, it will be Avasarala. Instead of Holden protecting Johnson, it will be Drummer protecting Avasarala. So they will set up this tentative relationship between Avasarala and Drummer, which in the books doesn't even happen until Book 7, but I think they'll introduce it earlier this season. Perhaps they'll even include Anna in this storyline. They want to keep her in the show, as she could be a part of Avasarala's entourage visiting Medina Station. I know I'm going way out on a limb here, but I think it would be cool. And this wouldn't be much different than what they did in Season 1 with inventing a new storyline for Avasarala, which set up for other storylines to come. And I think they need to include Avasarala, because if they do focus the season entirely on Illis and ignore her, I think this would be a huge detriment to the show, as they have already established her as a main character, and it was bad enough that she didn't appear at all in the second half of Season 3. I think they need to make up for this. Also, I think they already incorporated a lot of Nemesis games into Season 2, such as the attack on Johnson at Tycho Station. It seemed right out of Nemesis games, which is what makes me think they won't repeat that. Instead, they're going to do things a bit differently. So I think they'll forego some of the entire storyline with Holden trying to protect Fred Johnson, and they could instead focus on Avasarala on Medina Station. Or perhaps Avasarala won't go to Medina Station and she'll just stay on Earth, but they'll find some other storyline for her to do on Earth, perhaps maybe involving Anna or whatever, that will have to do with the political intrigue. And then they'll have another storyline on Medina with Drummer and Ashford. Maybe they could bring in other known belters we're familiar with, like Fred Johnson and Dolls or whatever. So, but either way, I think they are going to take this time in the Soul System to set up for the Nemesis Game storyline. So either way, I think they will end season 4 with the end of book 4, at least from the Rocinante crew's perspective, because they could bloat the storyline by incorporating it with Drummer and Avasarala stuff, which will incorporate some of Nemesis Games storyline. So season 5 could then go through to the end of Babylon's Ashes, as they could blow through the Nemesis Games material quicker, such as with, Naomi meeting Philip and being abducted by Marco. In fact, Alex's Nemesis Games storyline with reconnecting with his ex-wife was already covered pretty much in season 3, so instead in season 5 I think we'll just get him and Bobby going on a mission to Mars to find out about the missing ships, and there we can meet Duarte. And so I think they could do all of the book 5 and 6 material in season 5, as that all kind of tells one story anyway. So seasons 6 and 7 could then cover books 7, 8, and 9, and thus the show could get to the end of the story in 7 seasons, which is the number I heard the showrunners say that they were shooting to wrap up the show in. I heard some other people say 5 seasons, some people said 6 seasons, I think I even heard some people say 8 or 9 seasons. I'm not sure where they're getting these numbers from. I heard 7, and that's what I'm sticking with. And mapping it out this way, it really makes a lot of sense to me. Either way, I do think they will get to the end of book 4 at the end of season 4, but by incorporating some of the OPA stuff with Nemesis Games concurrently with the book 4 Illa stuff. But we'll see. Anyway, that's all the predictions I have for now. I'm sure, as always, most of these will be wrong, and I'll make more updated predictions as we get closer to season 4 and we get more casting news and whatnot, and that will likely prove me wrong, such as they'll probably say they'll announce that Bosnia has been cast, and they'll announce that Avasarala won't be in season 4 at all, but we'll see. So that's it for my Expanse Season 4 predictions video. And be sure to check out my channel in the off season, as I plan on doing many more videos on the Expanse, the TV show, and the books. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. Also check out my channel as I cover many other shows like Star Trek, Game of Thrones, Babylon 5, and more. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. And thanks a lot for watching.